Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ludovic Glorieux. I'm the general manager of Vatel Bordeaux. And at the same time, I'm the director of the Vatel Management School. I'm currently here with two of our students. I'm here with Zach Lacarin. Zach, can you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Zach. I'm a third-year student in the international program. And yeah.
In Bachelor.
In Bachelor, sorry. Yeah.
And I'm here also as well with Mohamad Kabbani.
Yes. Hi guys, I'm in the MBA program, so my second year in the wine and spirits specialization.
So welcome. Thank you to participate to this roundtable.
Thank you for having us.
So the roundtable is about the HR, which is critical at the moment, as we can all imagine. The idea is not to go for a seminar as with the one we had this morning with Laetitia Girard. The idea is to deal with HR from a student and future professional point of view. So before I ask you to give us your testimony, your questions, and so on, let's start to give a short feedback and global overview of the HR market to understand the reason why we're such in a big crisis. So the first thing we need to know is the weight of the hospitality industry within the global services. So more or less before the crisis, the tourism industry was waiting for around 21% of the global services. It's around 13 million people in Europe working in that industry. And the thing that is really interesting is to look at the people working in that industry. So around 61% of the people in the industry, when we're talking about tourism industry, of course, these are 4 different sectors: the hotel management, the F&B, the transportation, and everything related to travel agencies, OTAs. So when we look at the spread of the people working, it's 61% of the people working in F&B, around 20% in hotel, and the rest in transportation, of course, and travel agencies. So let's keep those figures in mind, because this will be really, it's a way to understand the current situation we're in. Second point, what are the profile of the people working in that industry? So first, the people working in the industry are pretty young. It's around 40% of the people that work in the industry are less than 24-year-olds. So it's around three third. The first is a third less than 24, a third that is less than 45, and the third that is more than 45. So that industry that is human-based is mainly focusing on young people. But the young people, you are part of them, are mainly, and you are not part of them, untrained. The thing that is really quite critical is that 70% of the people working in the hospitality industry are not trained. It means that they have a high school degree or less. And by looking at that, we now can figure out the reason why we're in such crisis. So before the crisis, we had a big survey, and we asked around 4,000 people in the hospitality education what were the reason why they joined the industry. So one of the main factors, and Zach, you can tell us the reason why you decided to study hospitality education.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason why is, first of all, it was one of the job sectors that corresponded more to what I wanted to do and my pillars as a human being, which is contact with the human, help being of service to people, and also the possibility of growing inside a company and climbing the ladder, as we say. But so that was the first reason I wanted. And growing up, I was someone who traveled a lot, like grew up in Africa and in France. So it was also a way to stay in the international domain of people who had the same upbringing as me.
You mean that you wanted, because if I'm not mistaken, you're South African?
Yeah, I was born in South Africa.
And Mohamad, you're Lebanese?
Exactly.
And you both studied in France?
Yes.
So I guess one of the factors you decided to study and to work in that business is also traveling.
Exactly.
Yes.
Is correct?
Yeah.
And what about the salary, the working conditions? Are those factors prominent or not?
From my side, when I chose to be in this sector, I didn't really took into consideration the salary or to see at what level we will be having our revenues and stuff like that. I was more into, as Zach said, human touch and this communication with people. And by choosing to study abroad, it's part of the experience to have this kind of overview about what we are aiming for later on. And I think that yeah, it's not salary or even revenues are not on the top list of the criteria nowadays for young people like us. Maybe they are really seeking about the experience and the chain, or even for an independent structure, but they are really experienced seekers. They want to be in touch with people that are traveling, but also with teams that are really having the same goals. So yeah, maybe it's part of what I've seen in my experiences before. But yeah, I think that the salary, it's part of the criteria, but it's not on the top list for me.
We've always said that your generation is really tied to traveling, to being ultra connected.
Mm-hmm.
Do you confirm, or what's your opinion about that? Do you think that you're only a few examples, or do you think that is way more common to your generation?
I think it's way more common to our generation. People I hang out with are mostly people from our school, my class. But I think as a generation, we are more open to travel and to experience stuff.
Exactly. I think that also we are in a world that the technology is present everywhere, even in our industry. But this connectivity of human to human is pretty the basics in our industry too. So I think that maybe we are really the merge of two connectivity, if you want to talk about this. But yeah, I think human won't be disappearing sooner or later, but
hopefully.
Even after COVID and after this virtual boom, the trend of having and receiving people and welcoming people is what we are fighting for. And we are seeing it at Vatel, but we're seeing it also in all the hotels or restaurants that we've worked in. So
okay, so in few words, to sum up, human being at the center of what we do.
Exactly.
What we live on a daily basis. Okay, so these are the criteria why people decide to study in hospitality or to be part of that industry. So let's look at now the reason why people leave the industry. So one of on the same survey, so the reason why people would leave the industry is that they cannot open or broaden their professional horizons. The second reason is, of course, you said it, they wanted to, if they cannot move to a different country, if they're stuck to their local, regional or national country, of course, this is part of the thing that's threatened people, because you look to travel overseas and so on. The third criteria, it's of course you change job because you want a better salary. And the fourth one is, if you change job, you want to get, as you said earlier, to climb the ladder, get new responsibilities. And the last one, it's obvious, if you want to leave your boss and create your own company, becoming an entrepreneur. So when we look at those criteria, the reasons why people would leave their job or leave the industry, when we look at the COVID crisis, because this was before the crisis, so what is now the impact of the crisis? So first, of course, we have, as we said earlier, young people with low qualifications. We are talking about young people and trade and their difficulty to evolve in the business. The second reason why we have such a huge impact, why the crisis has such an impact on our industry, is obviously the lockdown and the closure of the borders. So you were saying earlier that one of the reasons why you joined the industry and what was motivating you was to work with multicultural people and to travel. And because of the lockdown and the closure of the border, it is not possible anymore. And it's also another issue. It's that as we lack people working in France, of course, we cannot recruit them overseas because the borders are also closed.
True enough.
So the consequence of having less tourists is having less, of course, revenue and activity that is down. And with margins that are lower, of course, one of the consequences is that during the pandemic, all the hotelier and restaurant managers, they burn all the cash they got. Hopefully in France, and we had the chance to have the support from the government, economically speaking. But what do you think about that? This is one of the, major consequences of the COVID is that we're in a time when professionals need to invest, and especially to invest in people in terms of salary. But what do you think about the current salary we have in our industry?
For the hours that we do, especially nowadays, because we're doing a lot as an intern, and not have to, but I know my colleagues when I was working, they were doing a lot more overtime than the maximum, and they would never be paid for the overtime or not get any benefits from that. So it'll basically make the wages smaller. So instead of doing like 10 euros an hour and they reach the maximum, there'll be nothing extra. So it's, yeah.
It depends, because actually from my point of view, there's some structures that were like really shut down at all levels, but at the same time, others are really seeing opportunities from the COVID crisis, because we had a lot of team building virtually or even on Zoom like here, but at the same time, cross trainings. I remember the first lockdown, I was still in Hotel de Crillon in the Bachelor team, and we used to animate an Insta page just by doing some actually setups and learning from each department some tips to improve the service level. And at the same time, if there was no COVID, no lockdown, and no all this crisis, we cannot do all that. And it was another point of view, but at the same time, there is a huge impact. We cannot say no to it, to our sector, because the tourism sector was really affected by the COVID. Still now, we are seeing that occupancy is really down for some regions, and the staff isn't present fully all the time. So yeah, it's kind of, because we can see that first some basic or operational positions were negotiated first, because there was some tips, some other benefits from the structure itself, so they could have other point of view regarding the recruitment. But at the same time, now it's a bit different, and maybe it's a problem. At the same time, it could be an opportunity maybe to train people and to see another approach regarding the recruitment.
Yeah. And what do you think about the global image that is conveyed by the newspaper, by the TV, regarding we always heard every day on TV that people working in the health industry and also in tourism industry are really impacted. So what do you think about that image, that bad image that is conveyed by the press and generally speaking by the media?
It did give a bad image, like for in all sectors of the hospitality industry, but also it never shows the good sides about like why we joined, I imagine, and that's what's missing, I think. What about you?
Exactly. We used to have a very good image on media and on all levels, but at the same time, on a national level, we gained a lot, because a lot of people and hotels were really targeting maybe domestic travel, and at the same time, we had the bad image maybe on an international travel, because the numbers are here where the increase of cases every day and lockdowns after lockdowns. At the same time, we can say that France is known to be part of this tourism map. Paris was the first destination ever for tourism. So at the same time, we have two images. We have people that want to travel maybe less, but better, and spend more money during the stay. So maybe there is a bad image, of course, but at the same time, this bad image could be maybe covered when people are here and really experiencing the travel experience. So they are really maybe two points of view. On media, from my side, I know that everything is bad, or maybe too much information on each notification. We have a lot of information every day. So it's a bit tough for even a worker or even a student, and for a potential traveler, if he wants to travel. And nowadays there are a lot of people that just want to have experience. They don't want to travel. That before, people were always in cruise ships and this mass tourism, over tourism. We can say now many of people like now are going to Italy, to France, to visit some regions that were really impacted by the over tourism, and nowadays they are really having another point of view during the experience, during the stay. So yeah, it's part of the game to have bad image, but at the same time, build a new image after crisis. It could be also an opportunity.
Okay, so let's say that today we are quite pessimistic because we see the consequence. Before the crisis, at least in France, they were lacking around 100,000 people in our business. Because of the crisis, we noticed that since the beginning of the crisis in January 2020 or even 19, around 237,000 people left the industry. But despite that fact, I consider that we can still be optimistic regarding the industry. And as we will see after that, because the idea is not to be critical and to criticize. It's a matter of fact, we are in a crisis. But as we always said, every crisis generates opportunities. So let's try now to give some tips, some toolbox, kind of toolbox for people that are behind the camera. What can they do, and how can we help them figure out the potential solutions they can implement in their premises to get out of the crisis? Because of course we are pessimistic, but let's be optimistic. Let's try to give solutions to people.
Exactly.
So this is what we'll be discussing. So one of the first thing we said is, in terms of HR, we have now people leaving the industry. So the idea is to close the tap and trying to secure the current people that are still in the industry. So let's try not to let them leave the industry. Let's keep them before looking at the potential way to make people come back to the industry. So the first thing is by securing the HR, the recruitment base. Of course, the first thing we need to do is first to recruit people that are already trained, because we're in an emergency situation. You cannot afford to recruit people that are not properly trained, and it's critical at the moment. We cannot wait for 6 months to have people that are trained to get the activity back. Otherwise, most of the restaurants and the hotels will be dead. So the first thing is recruit people that are already trained, that will be fully operational on the first day they will join the company. So my piece of advice, of course, I'm a school director, is to sign agreement with professionals coming from the educational system, of course, because you have people that already have the knowledge, the know-how, the behavior, the comprehensiveness of the business, the way to manage teams, the way to manage guests, because of course we all pay our bills thanks to our guests. One of the way to do that is when we conduct the survey, we ask the students what is the first source of information when you look for a job. The first source of information is obviously their school. So I would recommend people from HR or GM from hotel or restaurant to come to the school and introduce their company, introduce their job offer, and in human contact. It means that it's not a job board you can see online. Talk to the students, talk to the people, give them the values, the passion, and they will join your business. The second, recruit young trainees. In France, there are now 2 compulsory internships, one in 9th, one in 12th grade. It's kind of company discovery internships. It's between 3 days to 1 week. So why don't we push those young people to discover the business, the jobs, and the people making it? It's a good way to make a discovery of the company. That's to secure the recruitment base. Now, but even we also as schools, we're also impacted by the crisis because of the bad image, because of the threats that is upon us. We're also experimenting a loss, in terms of students. For our situation, we lost around 12% of our students within 2 years, which is quite low compared to other schools. But still, we're still impacted. So of course, if our source of recruitment is getting thicker, I would say. Of course, the number of properly future professionals we can send to the business will be, of course, will follow the same way. So the idea is, how can we enlarge the basis? What do you think? Of course, you're in a school already, but some people said that they recruit, of course, untrained people, but people coming from suburban areas. They also have people having street casting.
Yes.
Do you think it's something that can help the profession?
I see this last night. I was going out and I was at a restaurant in town, and they were putting up signs of positions they needed to be filled. So I see street casting as something that's starting to develop more and more.
From my point of view, as you said, we have a lack of staff, but at the same time, a lack of people that want to come to the sector and the industry and be trained or be educated about it. Maybe to focus on, there's a lot of creativity related to recruitment. So it could be online, offline, or directly on the street. And from my point of view, like we had examples of hotels that are going on TikTok just to attract people and just to speak with the younger generations. The same thing that could maybe boost it is us, like the students, because we are the first ambassadors of the youngest generations for this industry, and maybe to help them to spread the word about our industry is really important. From my point of view, I entered this industry because when for my first time when I traveled and entered first hotel in my life, I was having a wow effect, and I said to my father, I said, I want to be in this type of establishment later on. And at the same time, we see that all the operational positions are maintained now from people that are not really educated of the real industry, and maybe they are just here for summer jobs or student jobs, and they are not really here for being here. And maybe this also could be an opportunity to have more trained staff internally or externally, and by partnerships with the schools, or even by on the recruitment levels. There's a lot of now partners related to schools, or really specialized structure for the industry. So yeah, there's a lot to do. We are really maybe developing things, but I think there is huge opportunities for recruitment, especially.
So in what you're more or less saying, that we need to rethink and rebuild the way we manage the industry
With a
to
touch
give
of
passion
creativity.
back to the people and
Exactly.
to make them a bit more aware of behind the scene when you what is really the real jobs. I mean, after what all the medias are saying about us.
At the same time, having this creative maybe strategy, but also being realistic, because a manager should also know how was the operations and how maybe he won't be one of the team on the operational level, but we see that lots of leaders now in our industry were in small positions before being managers or being leaders in a chain or in a small property. But yeah, maybe redesign a bit the approach regarding the recruitment for the positions of the operation.
So okay, yeah, it brings to my mind. I met the GM of Sofitel in Hangzhou in China. It's a 5-star hotel, and he started his career as a cook as when he was 16, and of course, 30 years after he became the GM. So it means that even without being trained, of course, he joined the Accor group, so he got the possibility to get trained. But it means that you have the possibility to climb the scales, the steps to go to the top management, and it's one of the few industries when you can do that.
Exactly, it's really feasible, and we have a lot of examples. So why not just to step in? And if you have goals for me, it's really doable.
Okay, so we spoke about the potential ways to communicate, so we won't spend time on that. Just a short focus on the possible things. Of course, the people need to communicate offline, as we said, by putting boards and so on. Of course, online. So we have in our business dedicated websites, websites such as Osco, Tuvalia, we have Resto Jobs and so on. There are more common sites like Monster, Indeed, and so on. But do you think that professionals need also to invest, when I said invest, not financially, but to join the social media where young people are?
For me, it's really obvious to be present on all social media, especially for specialized media for our sector. It's really important. Nowadays, connectivity, it's not only by getting it in touch directly, it's really on a virtual way. We have meetings now, we are on virtual, but at the same time we are connected. So yeah, it's we are living in this connectivity. I don't know, Zach, if you have any.
If you had one just social media where you would recommend to use for professionals, what would it be? What would it be?
For me, investment on LinkedIn nowadays is really important, and of course for internships I used to use LinkedIn and Osco, and I think be more present on this social media. It will boost a bit the attractiveness.
Yeah, but you're already in the business, so if you want to catch people that are
outside,
not from that business, what would you use?
I would use Instagram because people are like everyone's on Instagram nowadays, I guess. And when you're scrolling through your feed, you see all these great destinations and great adventures you could do all related to the hospitality industry. So why not join them?
So showing the benefits of working in the industry rather than just recruiting directly.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, one of the way to bring back people to the industry or to attract people that are not from the industry, it's of course to valorize the jobs and the reality of the jobs, not to sell you a nice postcard, but to show the reality of the jobs, but by emphasizing on the positive aspects. But the point is, if you want to do that, you need to invest on the media to design videos, etc. It's really not affordable for independent professionals. So how could they do to get the such investments?
As you said, partnerships is part of the game, even in recruitment. For me, maybe for small structures, they don't really need to have big investments and big money on the table. But at the same time, there's a lot of free tips that could be put in place as you said, Zach. Instagram, many tools, TikTok are really the tools nowadays to speak with the young generation. At the same time, there's a lot of bloggers or even influencers that are really targeting some industries. And why not having this type of communication related to the recruitment itself? Because traveling, it's really easy to attract, because it's part of the beauty on the social media. Everyone wants to go to a restaurant. There is always a picture of what they are eating, or the decoration, or even the place itself. Same for the hotel, same for the wineries, same for everything related to our industry and tourism. So at the same time, why not using these existing tools, existing content, and merge them with our recruitment approach? So yeah, it could be feasible.
So what you're saying is that apart from creating an employer's brand, it's also to create a complete environment that can make people feel secure to join the business.
Exactly. Okay. Big players are doing it. Like for example, LVMH right now, they are launching approximately, they call it the Inside LVMH, and they are training people, having competitions inside this program. At the same time, there's opportunities, because there are opportunities because they are lacking of staff on all levels. And yeah, it's only communicated on only social media. And at the same time, we can see that big players are doing it, they are succeeding. Why not doing for smaller levels or smaller players of our industry?
So by investing on social media, it's you invest obviously less than what you would do in regular media. It's the same example as Burger King against McDonald's. And Burger King invested around 10 times less in communication because they're using social media than McDonald's.
Exactly, and it's a time-saving process.
So in order to change the image, of course, we need to work on the salary. I mean, we are not talking about the advantage nature and so on. We're just talking about purely the salary. We got a project from last week about the UMI, so the union that they are representing our industry. That is currently working with the French government and authorities to raise to increase the salary, and you can see the current salary that are based on the level and the steps, the ladder. So it will potentially increase by between 10 to 20%. So and it's mainly focusing and dedicated to people that have the lowest salary, obviously. The operational people we're talking about, the young and untrained. So to attract them to come back to industry, because operational people are those who make our industry. So this is the first project. So it's national based. As you said earlier, Zach, it's also to pay the overtime that are done. But there are also other possibilities. For instance, making the people get a part of the additional revenue they're generating for the establishments. And we had an example last week, the beginning of the year, about the tips that are paid by credit card that are now untaxed. So, and also it's participating to the company profits. And it's really low. And as we said earlier, 61% of the people are working in the F&B industry. And we have only 2.7% of the restaurants that have the company agreement, compared to, if you compare to other industry, this is 14%. So it's around 6 times less than in any other industry. So people need to think about that, of course. And but it's really just a few companies that can afford to do that, to give additional month in salary, for instance, in the 13th or 14th month. But the problem is, once again, we have no cash anymore. So how can we increase the salary without cash?
Yeah, it's a problem, but at the same time, thanks to be in France, because there's the government approach that maybe is helpful for businesses. At the same time, yeah, increasing the salaries for the operational positions is a must, because we can see that numbers are really low. But I think also focusing on this creation of an ecosystem, even the salary, the conditions, the attractiveness, and the environment itself is the biggest problem. And in all industries, there are pros and cons about some specific points. But yeah, for me, it's a must to increase salaries nowadays for only the small operational levels, because in our industry, for example, the housekeeping are not really next to the hotel, or really well educated to be able to be here at this position, and maybe they are having kids and other problems in their life, or they want to handle many things. In Paris, I used to work with a housekeeping team of 100 housekeepers for one hotel. It was huge. Managers were really, nowadays, with 10% occupancy, there's a problem. They want to keep them, but at the same time, they could see that other industries or other positions that are not really demanding high education are paying maybe more. And this is part of the tools that we can maybe focus on.
So you're saying that less people but better paid?
Not especially, maybe more trained people and better paid, yes. Because even though it's operations, there is always this guest-oriented approach. We cannot really have people that are really stressed behind the scenes or directly on site, and training is part of it, and also the salary is part of it, where people are willing to go kilometers to reach the workplace. They will be discussing exactly, yeah.
So we need to have a view on the global pictures. One, of course, salary and everything related to the salary, to the wage, is one component. Let's look at the other components. Of course, the benefits in kind. So what you can get from your company, and this is not something that is, HR. It's not really costly for HR. It's just to give access to their premises, but not only. For instance, to create a work council when you can offer your employees discounted tickets, I don't know, to go to theater, to movies, and to give them access to to the services you're offering your guests. In few words, if I'm just summing up, let's consider your employees as internal guests. So provide your employees the same benefits you can provide your guests. Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's there are strategies related to this internal guest inside the structure. Zach, maybe have you ever experienced this type of strategy related to any structure that you've been in?
No, not with the advantages in kind like this, but I remember concerning the pay where I used to work during the summer. If I would sell some products that we were selling, I will get I'll get 10% commission off of the product. So that was a real motivator, especially because we're having contests between the whole team to work on that.
It could be part of an internal experience, let's say it like this, is of course maybe an experience related to maybe some structures or departments that are in the hotel, like you've said, a housekeeper could maybe benefit from the spa, from the restaurant of the hotel, and at the same time work on upselling this kind of experience for the guests.
Of course, one of the main reason why the people left the industry, it's what we said, the working conditions. When we think about working in the restaurants, we always talk about cuts, saying that you work from, for instance, for those who don't know what is a cut, you work from 11 in the morning to 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon, and you go back to home and you come back at 6 for the night shift. So the idea is to work just 6 or 7 or 8 hours in a row and having a rest. But in order to manage that, you need to have a better human resources management of the team, so better organization of the planning, the schedule. We have a lot of things are starting to be experimented. For instance, people having 3 days for the weekend and 4 days, or having a weekend per month. So it's a question. I mean, it's possible, but of course, it's again what would be the cost, especially in France, because we know that the cost of the labor cost is really high compared to other countries. There are even some companies that shut down during Christmas times, during summertime sometimes as well, to also give rest to their teams and also give them the possibility to go back and spend time with their family or relatives. So globally speaking, we need to rethink that and give more flexibility and also give confidence. So we were talking about the working conditions. Which is something that is one of the first criteria why people leave the industry. So what can be done, I mean, apart from raising the salary, but how can we improve for instance, the working conditions from housekeepers?
Of course, for operations, maybe the best tool now is technology, not for replacing people, but maybe for helping them to have a better condition workplace. For example, housekeeping, they could have more technology related to the beds, to maybe an efficient material for all the vacuum system, all that. It will help a housekeeper maybe for a physical point of view, be more maintained, saying that. And for a time point of view is really important, because at the same time, a normal equipment will give the housekeeping maybe 3 or 4 rooms cleaned in 1 hour. At the same time, if all that technology is here and present, they will be much more efficient and having much more maybe time to do other things, or maybe more rooms. And yeah, it's for me, technology should be serving a better conditioned place.
And Zach?
I'm not sure about housekeeping because I never worked as a housekeeper, but in F&B, especially in the back office, I remember one of my experiences was working as a dish boy, and the machine will always leave, like the machine, I don't know if some people know how it works, but it'll always leave a residue of water. So you always have to go behind and clean it with vinegar to remove all the hand marks, the trace. But nowadays with technology, you can get better performing machines, so you will not have to do that and gain more time afterwards.
It's good. You're giving me a good transition about how the technology can help people work. So we switch directly to that slides because we were talking about that. Of course, as you said, efficient material can, as you said, Mohamad, save time to the people. We had a new, for instance, oven in the kitchen that you can program and so that you can cook for instance, low temperature meal. You can cook them, program them before you leave, and it will cook during the whole night, and it will save time in the morning rather than coming at 6 a.m. You come at 8 because the meat was already cooked during the night. Zach, you were talking about, for instance, dishwasher. There are dishwasher with what we call osmoser, because when you, of course, clean the dishes, you need to dry them after that. So now you have machines that can dry automatically the plates, etc. And it's also, you have also technologies regarding to clean the bed linens, for the housekeepers. You have new trolleys, so that and also beds that can go up and down, so that housekeepers do not break their back. So, but it requires, once again, sometimes big investments, sometimes a little bit of investments, but it's always on behalf of the employees. And in my opinion, it's always good to invest in the human beings. And once again, to let people focus on their core business, and the core business is not cleaning a room, is not cleaning the dishes, it's serving guests and providing them with experience. When we're dealing with runners, waiter, what is the value created by a runner taking the order and giving the order to the kitchen? None. It's just a waste of time. So why don't you use the technology such as a tablet pad to place the order? The order goes technologically directly to the kitchen, so that you can focus on making your guests having a good time with you. And this is what the guests will require, and this is what you will remember after leaving your office.
Exactly. As you said, and I want to add something, is maybe for the returning guests, they will directly see if there's any turnover or any other new staff or a lack of staff, everything. Because even I remember the one thing when I was in the butler team, people want a specific butler, they want to see the same face, have the same experience. And at the same time, if we had all this recruitment or all this people that are leaving our industry, we won't have this part of the experience that our people are really wanting and really demanding, requesting. And yeah, investing in human is a real must, because at the end we are doing not only hospitality but creating experience, so on all levels. So yeah, it's the return on investment maybe won't be directly here, but at the same time it's building a huge image behind the scenes.
Okay. Yeah, just to go in the same direction as you. I used to manage an hotel in India, and 70% of our guests were coming from Europe and from the US, and they were loyal. I mean, that's the average stay for the second stay, I would say, was around 14 days, so around 2 weeks. So it's huge. And the reason why they could come back, it's apart from the beauty of the premises and so on, it's because the staff was always the same year after year. So they could talk directly with the first name to the waiter, to the driver, and said, "Oh, Nitin, how are you doing? How are your kids?" And they all felt like being part of the family.
Exactly.
And this is part of getting an experience, giving an experience to your guests.
Yeah.
Good. So let's talk about now. We have a new generation of professional. You are part of that new generation. You expect something different. I heard that we are part of. We always say that when you are in the kitchen, when you're a restaurant, you're part of a military service. So you know that's pyramidal management way, the military way of the top down is starting to disappear, but it's something that is still really difficult. It's difficult to change minds, difficult to change the way of managing companies. What do you think? How would you? What would you expect from a manager in terms of managing human beings?
I'd expect that in a team we're all human, so we all should be at the same level. Of course, there's some sort of hierarchy, because at the end of the day, there must be someone who's responsible for the whole group. But it depends on how they manage the group, and if that, in the consider themselves part of the group, to be at the same level so they can work. That's what I think.
And what about the okay, we guys? What about the equity between women and men?
From my point of view,
Don't say no, otherwise.
For me, if I prefer to say it's not equity, it's rights. If a person has the right to be in this place, it's obvious. But at the same time, we can see that nowadays, for example, when you say equity, I have a huge example. The GM of Rosewood is still here. She's a woman, not from the sector, but she used to be in all the Rosewood, all the properties, visiting all the women managers, and she wanted to gain all the feedbacks from this point of view. And she said at the same time that a woman is a GM, but at the same time is a housekeeper, a head manager, and the supervisor. So at the same time, she said, yeah, there is, if she has the right to be in this place, she will succeed and will also transmit this to other women of the society. And I think for me, our workplace is a gathering point of many things, of many subjects, and women are part of this, and men also.
And we're not talking only about women, we're also talking about integrating people that are different. We know that in our company, we have disabled people. There is a restaurant really close by at Bassin Flow called the Le Jardin du Pêcheur. Le Jardin du Pêcheur, 80% of the people in the kitchen are disabled. And the 20% resting people, the 20% remaining people are coming from suburban. So it's also, it's a will from a director, but I think it's a global trend. It's I think your generation is really more sensitive to discrimination.
Exactly.
So what we experience in our business is just the reflect of what is currently happening in our society, more or less.
Yep.
There are also some people, and no, it's not there, but what you were saying about women, I'm just thinking about that. I just want to just switch to the training part. You were absolutely right. For instance, ISG created a program called Rise, where they emphasize and they give the opportunity to women to become GM or to become entrepreneur. So even international 10 chains are also trying to give more visibility and to give the same chances and the same awareness to women than men. So just coming back to we said our business is just the mirror of the society, and so why don't we become social or sustainable laboratories? We're a good example here in Vatel because we have a 4-star hotel that is European eco-labeled, and we also have the tourism handicapped recognition. And the thing what we're trying to do at our humble level is that we give the frameworks to our students. Not only we just don't give them just theoretical things, we implement action plans, we create action plans, and we implement systems, project. We invest a lot, and we invest because we are educators and we want you to experiment that inside our premises so that you can be part of the change of the society we are, experimenting at the moment with the crisis, because you are those who will change the business in the future. So the best way to do it is to let you express yourself and change the way we're doing business. And thanks for that, because of course we invest in you, but you give us back our return on investment is what you do after you graduate, and thank you for that. So coming back to the social laboratory, I know that some people experiment. I have the example of a restaurant in Paris. It's an owner who has 7 restaurants and 2 bakeries. So he hires people in the kitchen, of course, both for the kitchen and for the bakery. So that people can switch from one to another and get experience on the different kind of jobs, different kind of products. But they just always reach, they always improve, they know better. I mean, they meet different people, so they get richer on the professional and social level. So what would you do if you were at the head of a business in terms of social or in terms of sustainability? Or what did you see in the companies you work for?
Sustainability, it could be really large, because sustainability could be related to the ecological point of view of the company. But at the same time, sustainability is also a long-term goal. We can say that maybe if we want to stay in the HR point of view, before and maybe still now, a lot of companies used to have cross trainings between departments and having approach of people from maybe other companies, sister companies. At the same time, task forces or even cross trainings are not only this strategy for sustainability. For me, sustainability is also interacting with other maybe structures or companies to build an approach on maybe a regional or international level. From my point of view, sustainability is not only to take off the straw of the drink in the bar. It's way more than that. Our industry is a potential for this and an opportunity to have maybe I think a dream come true for people inside the company, but also for the guests. When a wine property that we visited was telling us, I don't want to have an organic label on my product. I want to spread the word that me as a producer of this bottle, I worked a lot on my field, on my vineyard, to put it in a bottle. So no need, I think, for me to talk a lot about this environmental thing, but more to talk about this experimental thing, and people will return and will enjoy more and more the experience in the bar, in the restaurant, or in the hotel. And yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. For me, sustainability, we're talking more about the team, and it's about how the team grows together and creating an environment where the team could be comfortable, where someone in the team could feel comfortable to explore other aspects of their career. For example, you did butlering, but I'm sure maybe one day you would like, oh, I'd like to do housekeeping, for example, just to try and let them grow organically and see how they progress in their career.
This is a trend that we are starting to see more and more. HR professionals are not recruiting specialized people, but people that are adaptable. People can switch from reception desk to the rooms, to event management, even to marketing. So this is something that HR are more and more focusing on. Absolutely. So, and it's also you were talking about teams, team spirit, team management. But it's also, I think, something that is integrated into the global environment. We have a few examples. Six Senses decided to remove the toxic sunscreen, because when you put sunscreen, of course, you go to the ocean and you sometimes kill the fish, tortugas, and so on. So that's the reason why they banned. So it's not only their guests, but it's more global. It's the ocean. And we have another example of Four Seasons, who rebuilt their premises with local materials. So it's not only just something that is inside the premise, it's also something that is dealing with the complete environment. So with local people, local materials, the local environment.
Exactly.
We were already discussing about the technology. We were talking about of course, the specific oven. We are also digitalizing a lot of things. For instance, the e-concierge. For instance, we have also a lot of. Technology is helping the people, and you were mainly focusing on the guest experience and also the management of the activity in the back office. So the technology helping people work properly and focusing on their jobs and focusing on providing guest experience.
Exactly, because at the end, the experience won't be fully served, saying that like this, if a worker is stressful or is maybe having not that good conditions, that is ready at the end to answer the request, or maybe to have high expectations. It's for me the maybe experience is part of the guest point of view, but at the same time is a part of the employee point of view, and that's what maybe the HR should focus on also.
We have a question on here from Lucy, who's asking, what could hotels do to help the employees grow? To help their employees grow?
Train people.
No.
Thank you. Providing them continuous training all along their career, so that they are not stick to a single job, and so that they can have also visibility on their career, because having a career plan is always more securing people, and it helps them grow and also feel at ease in their companies. You were talking earlier about team building, team spirits. What kind of training we can offer them?
That I think depending on the employee, it really depends on the training they want, because I don't see a point where we'll train everyone to do one thing when maybe some of these people are not interested. So it's making them feel more human, but in a personal way. So
customize and
customize that training with, maybe I would like to learn Chinese because my goal is to go to China. So maybe I could do it, like the HR could help me finance or help me find Chinese classes in order to continue and go into that hotel over there and be better.
At the same time, a training could be done internally. We have seen a lot of properties that are really implementing maybe the management and training programs. Big chains are doing it, but now smaller companies are really interested to implement this kind of trainings. I think for me, before implementing any training or even a program, is to listen to the needs that are maybe expressed by the employees or by the future employees, as like students or young generations, because at the end the training is done because there is a request or a need to improve something, but also to answer the improvement of on a personal level. And as you said, maybe the language skills are important for some people, others are seekers for maybe technical improvement, and at the same time a tailored program is the answer for me also.
And what about technology? Can technology, because it's really difficult when you have an hotel with 200 employees to provide 200 tailor-made programs. So how can technology help design training that are customized, personalized?
Sometimes I think technology is great, but sometimes too much technology, or technology where you don't necessarily need it, could be an issue. Here, I think is just a constant exchange between the HR, the head of HR or the manager, and the employees. Everything can be done just through a conversation. So why would you go through a nap? We can just talk.
So it's also, I think, depending on the type of training you're providing. If it's purely knowledge, if it's know-how, if it's technical, things cannot be done of course, behind the screen, but some things can be, for instance,
Exactly.
pure knowledge. We're using at the school, we're using Lobster Inc., which is e-learning. So this Lobster Inc. is providing specific programs for the international hotel chains. For instance, I tried it myself. So I tried the pairing between a cigar and spirits, because I'm not a big fan of cigar, but more of spirits. But I was really curious about how we can pair cigar. And thanks to videos and stuff, you can do it. And of course, there are things you cannot do online. There is things that you are still human beings. We need human contact.
True, because at the end, e-learning is a trend now. From all the point of view, we maybe thanks to COVID, at the same time, we had the chance to experience this kind of new type of learning. But at the same time, this is a real potential for people that are always at work and they want to improve. Maybe during their free time, they will have the chance to interfere with people outside the company, online, virtually. From my point of view, for example, for the wine set, we have teachers here at Vatel that are also having courses online for other clients and real professionals, and it's part of the connectivity right now. So maybe training could be also tailored via this type of learning. And of course, maybe a lot of schools are really interested to be partners with some structures and companies to improve all the skills of their employee and staff.
And it's also something that is sticking to the once again the environment. For instance, Hotel opened a culinary university at the heart of the Rungis international market. So we were talking about experience. So let's talk about employees' experience when they are trained. So rather than just being trained in a regular kitchen, so they're in the kitchen that is in the middle of the biggest fresh food market, maybe in Europe. So it's also a way to immerse your employees in a specific experience. So in few words, and just before concluding, also we spoke about attracting people. We spoke about training people to make them, of course, happy employee will be way more efficient. It's a regular survey, but it's around 12 happy employees are 12% more efficient. And if they are disappointed, if they are demotivated, it's 10% less productivity. So let's invest in our employees, because happy employees will generate happy customers, and happy customers will be loyal customers. So let's switch from a vicious cycle to virtuous, yes. So let's finish that roundtable by talking about the well-being of employees, because we all discuss about retaining talents, and one of the best ways to retain talent is to provide them well-being. If they feel comfortable, if they feel happy, if they feel secure, if they feel that we give them confidence, they will at least stay with you. So we talk about the seminars. So you were talking about team building.
Team buildings, there are always team buildings to boost a team and to connect people together. It's a fun part for me. When you say team building, it's always an activity that all people will enjoy. And at the same time, there are oriented team building, maybe because at the end we can see that maybe to boost the team spirit, or to boost some leaders that are really in need to be managing maybe new teams or new members. Team building is the answer, and of course the well-being of the internal guest, let's say like this, is also being part and having this feeling of involvement inside the structure, and our industry is the best maybe industry to maybe to represent a team building activity or activities of well-being. So why not using it? Maybe Zach, do you have any experience of team building or something? Do you remember of
Everything related to well-being, generally speaking.
Well-being for me, it's in the establishments where I worked. The well-being was mostly built around the table and the community we built around this restaurant where I was working. For example, at the end of each week, at the last service, we'll sit down, talk about the week, how it went, and that over the years allowed that to be some sort of community. We had people like old interns who left, and at the end on these Saturday nights, mostly, they would still come and join us to say hello, and there'll just be a moment of exchange, which motivates us as a team.
We have a question here that is asking what are different types of team building activities you can do for
There's plenty of activities you could do.
Thousands.
It mostly depends on what sector you're in. For example, I worked a lot in F&B, so I'll be interested maybe in doing a wine course, so doing some wine tastings. Or what about you?
From my point of view, I had the chance to work in a hotel that has a lot of departments. So at the same time, we had the chance to go directly to the pastry department, and every team actually was responsible to create a new pastry after the instructions of the pastry chef. It was really fun, but at the same time, I've learned a lot because we had people of each team that were really inside the kitchen department. So we had some people that really have skills. Others, like for example, from the marketing department, they are really hesitating of all the recipe, and they want something really beautiful, but at the same time they don't really have the skills. And it was really funny because in the same team we have one manager, one intern, one operational position people. So at the same time, that was a gathering point inside the hotel. And at the end, we've learned a lot because with doing funny things, we learned a lot of things. And the first time I went to the guest, and I was like, yeah, you should go and taste our pastries because it's very nice, very good. And we had this storytelling directly after this activity. And at the end, yes, well-being will generate, of course, an environment that is really good for employees, but at the same time, upsellings will come afterwards and happy cash flow also. So it's part of the game.
Happy cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. So at the same time, for me, team building isn't a waste of time. And when you have creativity, you can do a lot of activities in all the structures. So yeah, examples are, you have a lot. You have escape games. You have maybe virtual activities that you can do, and related, of course, to our sector.
But not only because if I can testimony for our company, it's also a way to know the people you work with outside their jobs. It's these are in those specific rich moments, you know, that, oh, you have kids, oh, you have a wife, what is your life behind your professional business suit you wear every day? So who are you behind that suit? It's also a way to know better the people, and the better you know your people, the better you will manage them, and you will work with them as a real team, not as a professional team, but as a real human teams. Okay, it's not to valorate what we do at Vatel Bordeaux, but every year we have a seminar from the whole team. Every quarter there is an activity that is created and designed by one department. So we went for karting, we went for karaoke, etc. We were supposed to go to the casino before the shutdown. Unfortunately, we could not. Thank you, the shutdown. So it's everything that is related to make people feel. Of course, we are family-run business, so we consider our employees, teachers, business partners, students as members of our family. So it's a way to feel that family, or at least team spirits, company spirits. And it's a way to make the links between our employees tighter. So that's when we're facing crisis, at least we are stronger all together. So this would be my conclusion. When you're facing a crisis, I mean, stick to your values business, have a strategy, and invest in your employees, because this is the best investment you can do. So guys, if you want to conclude.
Good.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, crisis will of course generate opportunities. So let all the recruiters now seize the good opportunity and orient their investments, of course, focused on human.
Thank you. Last word.
No, sorry.
Okay, thank you so much for attending the roundtable. We hesitate to watch this on replay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.